The developers of Cyberpunk 2077, Projekt Red, have refused for the longest time to give us New Game Plus, but luckily, modders have, and it is surprisingly really dang good. It feels totally legit and has zero issues, at least that I've encountered, and the way they went about this makes me wonder how the developers have not done this. I know it's a mod, actually putting it into the game is probably a whole different story, but I mean, how different could it be? Also, let me know down in the comments if you want New Game Plus as an actual permanent feature in Cyberpunk 2077. Every time I talk about it, I get a lot of comments saying it's like their most anticipated feature for an update, and other people saying how dumb New Game Plus is. I imagine at least once in a while developers take a look at these videos, so comment down below if you want it, and also comment on CD Projekt Red's social medias so that they get the idea. Most mods for video games, no matter how good they are, have their issues. For example, the upcoming co-op multiplayer mod coming to Cyberpunk sometime this year. I cannot wait for that, but is it gonna be butter smooth? Of course not. Is it gonna be janky as heck? Yeah. Let There Be Flight, probably one of my favorite mods for any game of all time. I think it's incredible that one guy just said, okay, CD Projekt Red won't give us flying cars, so I will. It still feels like a janky as heck mod though, but New Game Plus feels nothing like that. It feels no different than if the developers made it themselves and pushed it into an update. And it's another reason why I wish Cyberpunk would just give full mod support already with the addition of console mods. Those two things would be gigantic for this game. This video is sponsored by one of the most played games on Steam last year, Once Human, a free-to-play MMO shooter which as of today is now on mobile. And it's not some lesser downsized mobile version of the game, but it is the complete game now on your phone, making it the highest quality MMO shooter that you can play for free on mobile. It's also 100% crossplay, so you can keep on playing with your friends on the go. If you don't have any friends, well, this is the perfect time to make some since there are a ton of new players picking up the game. An awesome part of this game is the vast amount of different builds you can use. My favorite, and probably one of the most powerful builds in the game, revolving around the unstable bomber effect that comes equipped on the G17 hazardous object pistol that basically gives a 20% chance to cause an explosion on each shot. And that alone is pretty crazy, but combined with explosive buffs like the Treacherous Tides armor set, excluding the Treacherous Top, cause for the chest piece we're going with the explosive front top, which is a key armor. You can only use one key armor piece at a time, so I'm going with the top for its unstable bomber perks that make our explosions even better with a 30% damage buff. But if you don't like that build, there are a ton more like the ones that revolve around maybe the best weapon in the game, the Boom Boom KVD. If you're like me and think this game sounds fun, click my link down in the description or scan the code to play Once Human and its new cross-platform today and get 1,016 freebies all at once. Also join the Once Human Discord to stay tuned for news and perks for both PC and mobile players. Thanks to Once Human for sponsoring the video. Okay, so check this out here. Right on the main menu, you see Continue, New Game, and New Game Plus. Click that and it gives you the option to select any save that you have gotten towards the end of the game. You know, if you see the quest pop up on your screen while playing that you have to meet Hanako at Embers, that iconic quest that just stays there, you can use that save as a New Game Plus save. I have like a million saves in this game, but only one of them made it that far, I guess. At least on PC. So we click that, and here we go. Select your New Game Plus starting point. You can either start the game from the prologue or post-heist, and just skip all of that. You'll kinda just wake up in the junkyard. You know, the prologue is like a more comfortable part of the game. You know, the clock hasn't started ticking yet, but post-heist, if you've played the game before, this is pretty much where I'm going to start off from now on. I love the prologue, but it's pretty dang long. So then it's just like starting a new game itself. You pick your class, you can change pretty much everything you want. You get like a complete reset. Maybe you were a nomad in the last one, now you can be a street kid or a corpo. As much as I hate corpos in this game, I don't know, something just feels right. Mostly because this preset here looks like the perfect corpo. I guess the presets in general kind of go with the vibes, like maybe this guy's like nomad, here's street kid and corpo. And select all of the different cyberware that was added into that last update, where they added a bunch of character creation stuff. And then here are my skills. I was kind of modding the last one, so I have 20 body, 20 intelligence, 20 reflexes, technical, and then 18 cool. You know, I'm only missing 2 points to max everything out. So we started off post-heist, you wake up in the junkyard. Now, alternatively, if you go into your mod settings before actually starting the New Game Plus save from the main menu, go over to the New Game Plus settings, and you can actually set your post-heist starting point. So here I'll set it to Mega Building H10, apply, Alright, and here we are, just past that point where it's basically Prologue 2.0, where we went around with Takamura and just like pulled ourselves from the garbage. You barely skipped anything, but this is probably a much better start in my opinion to start from Mega Building H10. Now you still have to go through some of the stuff where you meet Gianni, but let's get to the actual good part about New Game Plus. So you'll see we have all of our weapons. Here's everything in my inventory. If we look inside of our stash on our vehicle, which by the way, you'll see I have all of my vehicles still, not missing any of them. Go into our stash, you'll see I have all of my iconic weapons, legendary weapons, and gear and all of that. You still have all of your cyberware, so I'm just an absolute monster right off the bat. I'm level 53. The only reason I started at level 50, since I was at level 60, as you can see, if you go into your mod settings on the pause menu, and then go over to New Game Plus again, if you check mark clamp player level and transfer, you have that on. It's going to set you to level 50 if you have Phantom Liberty. If you don't have Phantom Liberty, it's going to clamp you down to level 40. That way you have something to level up to again. But if you check mark that off, you will keep your max level. You'd have to do that before starting a new game though. If you see I just check mark that off, I'm still level 53 because I already started the game with the setting on. We still have all of our materials. We have all of our cyberware capacity shards. I don't think I had mine maxed out when I started the New Game Plus. I didn't collect that many capacity shards, so that's why I'm not like maxed out on the cyberware. You still have all of your attribute points, perk points, relic points. See the relic skill tree here, I can just grab them all again. You know, I have a couple extra perk points here from customizing my save, and I kept all of that. If you start a New Game Plus and lose any of your cyberware, the game just takes some of it off at the start. You'll just have to go to a Ripper Dock and equip them all again. We have all of our crafting materials and blueprints, all of our components so that we can upgrade our weapons, and all of our stats, really everything. You'll see that you're just starting a new game with all of your gear unlocked. You're your max level character in a new game, and there are no issues. And one of the cooler things is in your mod settings, you can adjust a lot of different things to adjust your difficulty. Now, if Projekt Red puts New Game Plus into the game, I don't think this part's insanely necessary. If they want to up the difficulty, they can just up it, maybe just a difficulty selector, give you an additional difficulty level. But going this deep is not really needed. This is going to be too much for a lot of players to even mind looking at. But you can have enemies get a higher chance of becoming fast, becoming tanky, the health regeneration rate of enemies, pretty much anything to do with enemies and make them more underpowered or make them weaker. Like you can give them a higher chance for optical camo. You know, set that thing to 100 and everyone's invisible. If you enable random encounters, the enemies pretty much just catch you lacking at a traffic light and will randomly show up and start fighting you. Same with making it so that you have random encounters outside of vehicles just roaming around, and you can even increase the amount of enemies that show up when you do get that random encounter. So why have we not gotten New Game Plus in Cyberpunk 2077 yet? As for what the actual developers themselves said regarding a New Game Plus update, they didn't flat out say no. They never have said New Game Plus will not happen. They just basically said it's a lot of work. They said New Game Plus for Cyberpunk 2077 is an incredibly complex feature to make. It's rebalancing the entire game, enemies, equipment, items, and tons of testing / tweaking. There's many skill checks in gameplay and dialogues. So what happens here? How do we handle or balance attribute and perk points? Does cyberware in early game break anything new? Can the players get to places with double jump that they shouldn't? What happens when you get your first grip at Vix but have gorilla fists? The part where you see the surgery with your hand may potentially need to be reworked entirely. Do you keep your vehicles? How do we handle all of those scenarios? Just to name a few questions we'd need to answer. None of which are impossible, but you see how it's a lot of work, or more work than one may think on first glance. We're listening and investigating, no promises however. Now, there are a ton of arguments I see in my comments that are against New Game Plus. Some of them are things like, well, New Game Plus would break the game, it wouldn't make sense with any of the endings, what about skill checks, or like the developer said, basically saying that nothing would scale correctly how it was originally designed. But it's like, dude, that's the point. Nobody is forcing you to play New Game Plus. If you don't want to play New Game Plus, you can still start a fresh save. But for me and a lot of people, we want to use our in-game characters that we spent 100 or more hours leveling and actually get to fully use them in the new game. You're going to be overpowered in relation to how complex the game was when you first started. That's the point. New Game Plus isn't supposed to be perfectly balanced. I mean, they could do some cool stuff, like maybe if you already have an iconic weapon and you earn it again in New Game Plus, it's a better variant or an upgrade material that makes it even better. Maybe if you think the game would be too easy, you could do what this mod allows you to do, which is make the game harder. You can make more enemies or make them more difficult, as well as those random enemy encounters that we went over. But that is all extra. Those are things where if you did that, people would go bananas. It would be next level, but it's not incredibly necessary. Most people just want to play through the game for a second time with all of their gear and skills unlocked. It's not really that deep. So make sure you guys keep telling them that you want New Game Plus. We know there is something big coming to Cyberpunk 2077, either another update or DLC, which we talked about in the last video. So if we're lucky, maybe it'll be New Game Plus, but at the very, very least, maybe we can get it in the sequel, Orion. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Leave a like and subscribe for more Cyberpunk 2077 videos. Let me know in the comments what you think about New Game Plus, and thank you to Once Human for sponsoring the video. Click the link down in the description or the pinned comment to download Once Human today, available on mobile and PC. See ya.